The banks allow you to write code in and out of them. Basically, they're opening the door to software companies. Now, there are risks to this, obviously, but there's so many benefits. Like right now, it's a bit of a black box with the banks. You have to call or email or go into their portals to check things. It makes everything slower. Down there, the biggest banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Chase, there were a number of them at the conference, even TD, CIBC, a lot of the Canadian banks were there too. All of them are talking, they do understand the need for this. They understand they cannot build technology fast enough to keep up with what the consumer wants. They understand that security needs to be double checked by them or through them. And so what they're doing is building very high security protocols in order to integrate with them. Now, obviously, they're monetizing them as well, so they'll make money on this. But the real benefit for you and the consumer is now tools can integrate with these black boxes. Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of Advisor Tech Trends. As always, my name is Massimo, and today I've got some exciting stuff. I was just recently in Las Vegas for a week, and I was at the FinTech Meetup Conference. I think there were around 6 or 7. They do a very interesting model where they actually put you in this massive trade show area and just let you have one-on-one meetings pre-scheduled with people that may be relevant or interesting to your company. And so I learned a lot while I was there. I talked to a lot of people while I was there. And my goal when I went down there was to understand any trends that may be happening, any insights that I could bring back up here, because traditionally, honestly, this is probably no news to most of the people listening, but here in Canada, we don't often lead with new innovations. That's unfortunate, but true. And so looking down south to see where they are, where they're going, gave me a good insight into where we're going. And so I wanted to spend some time. I don't think this will be the longest episode in the world, but I wanted to spend some time talking to you about what I'm learning. It's going to inform a lot of my podcasts coming up. It's starting to inform a lot of the guests that I'm going to bring on. So anyways, let's get into it. So to start, what is FinTech Meetup? It was, as I said, a large conference, but it's financial technology companies getting together. So that could be banks, that could be companies like Stripe or PayPal. It can be security companies, AI companies, anyone that is moving money, dealing with money. It's the intersection of finance and technology, hence FinTech. And so although we're in the CRM world, it was still relevant because a lot of you guys do manage your clients' money, right? And so I thought I'd go and check it out. And here are a couple really interesting trends. So the first one I would say is AI-powered customer interactions. Now, you've heard AI to death, but it was really interesting. And there were actually some valuable interactions that they were talking about, mainly on the onboarding experience. AI can really help onboard new clients. It can really help explain clients their portfolios. It can enhance your conversation with clients. They're actually dabbling a lot with not necessarily robo-advisors, but AI communicating with your clients when they have certain questions or at certain times of year. They also have AI tracking trends. So I thought that was really interesting, where when you have a client who may have a large data set or a lot of investments or a lot of history with certain investment firms, it can be really helpful for you just to get a quick overview of a lot of their data. And so that was one of the things that they were talking a lot about. The banks were there, the big ones, JP Morgan and Bank of America and all of that. And they were talking a lot about how they have AI analyzing their clients' data to spit out trends. And so obviously they have a lot of client data, but that was a really big theme. And I mean, all of these will tie back to, in a sense, where it's like, you really need good databases. I mean, at the end of the day, what they kept talking about is without good data, this AI isn't going to work. It needs to be trained on something. And here's the reality. If the banks are doing it down south, we're eventually going to do it up here. And a lot of the banks are already dabbling with AI, and that's going to trickle down into dealers and investment shops. And so you need to be prepared. And the way they were pitching it was just kind of like an enhancement to what you do, right? And so it'll allow you to handle more clients better, faster. And so that's kind of a win for everyone, right? So that was one theme. The other theme was, I couldn't believe this, honestly, just the amount of fraud going on. Apparently started during the COVID era when people weren't going into branches anymore and stuff like that. And it was crazy. Like they were talking about how people will fraudulently doctor a invoice for any transaction. And so they're bringing out all these tools now to actually track, okay, when an invoice comes from someone, has this PDF been edited? Does the address of the client and the routing number and the SIN number and all of that match who the client we think it actually is? And so this may not be directly relevant for you, maybe some of you fee-for-service guys and gals, but I think the main point here is the banks and the technology companies are really focused on making sure that you're paying the right people or getting paid from the right people. With AI, there is a lot of fraud. People are using AI to fraudulently sound like people, to fraudulently doctor things. And so you just have to be really careful. And the main thing I got out of this is find the right technology, find the right players that have security and compliance in their mandate. Because there's so much tech out there right now, it's moving so fast, and some people are taking shortcuts. And so just keep that in mind, that we're kind of in this funky era where just fraud and AI, like we're in this era where we can't really trust if it's an AI or a human saying something or doing something. And so we just kind of need to ride this wave, find the right technology, make sure that it is tech forward and that they're pushing the limits with some of this stuff. Like there was literally someone on stage that built an integration between Bank of America and their portfolio management tool, where when you needed to make a new transaction, it would actually go into the Bank of America, check that Jim was Jim, check that Jim's routing number and SIN or social security number was what it was supposed to be, come back into your system, check that as well, and give a green check mark before anything worked. And so that's an important thing. Now, the odds of your CRM and Bank of America both being hacked with the wrong information is quite low, especially the Bank of America. And so that is the type of stuff you have to look for when you're looking for this tech. And that's how deep people are going with this. And so that kind of leads to the last big trend I saw, open banking. So this has been a buzzword. It's been happening all around the world, not very well in Canada, but it is happening in the States. It has happened in Europe. And essentially what that means is the banks allow you to write code in and out of them. Mostly out, but in any case, basically they're opening the door to software companies. Now, there are risks to this, obviously, but there's so many benefits. Like right now, it's a bit of a black box with the banks. You have to call or email or go into their portals to check things. It makes everything slower. Down there, biggest banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Chase, there were a number of them at the conference, even TD, CIBC, a lot of the Canadian banks were there too. All of them are talking, they do understand the need for this. They understand they cannot build technology fast enough to keep up with what the consumer wants. They understand that security needs to be double checked by them or through them. And so what they're doing is building very high security protocols in order to integrate with them. Now, obviously, they're monetizing them as well, so they'll make money on this. But the real benefit for you and the consumer is now tools can integrate with these black boxes. Could you imagine here in Canada if all the banks and all the carriers and all of the custodians had open APIs? And for those of you that don't know, open API basically means they give you a booklet on how to push and pull data out of their database. And the API is basically that booklet that tells you, okay, if you want to go grab a social insurance number, this is how you do it. This is the data you have to give me. This is the security you have to go through. If all of our banks did this, the productivity increase would skyrocket from other solution standpoints. Like, for example, our CRM could go grab data and verify things, or go grab data and update the CRM with accurate data. So you're never having to worry about, is their address up to date based on what the bank says, et cetera. There's so many benefits, and there's a massive trend towards this open banking going on right now. And so that was a big topic down there. I was really excited and surprised how far along the states are with this, where there were actually banks on stage showing their API documentation, showing live use cases of people who have integrated with them, and giving real examples like that one I gave where the gentleman's checking the SIN and checking the routing number and all of that. That's a massively valuable thing. And some of the things the examples they were giving it was saving clients hundreds of thousands of dollars, because someone may send you an invoice that's been doctored, and then you pay that invoice for $100,000. That's not good. And so this simple check through the open banking can save that, or let you know, hey, listen, something looks doctored here. The address doesn't line up with the routing number, and also the photo logo doesn't work. And so now you know, okay, hold on, red flag. So from your perspective as a financial advisor, the open banking would be huge. All the databases that you use, all the planning tools that you use would automatically go on steroids, and you would be able to not have to worry about double entry anymore. And so I hope it comes up here. There's a lot of entrepreneurs up in Canada trying, the Neos of the world, trying to get open banking to work. There's obviously a risk to it. You have to be very targeted and secure with it. But if you do it, it drastically makes everything faster. So I'm hopeful that Canada will do it. But I think the main kind of things that I wanted to bring back are, people down there are really, really focusing on streamlining onboarding. So that's one area where they're really focusing on, okay, the modern consumer, the newer consumer doesn't want to go back and forth through email, doesn't want to upload documents to a portal if they don't have to, like through email and all of that. So what they want is a very streamlined onboarding. And the best way to get that is if you're able to go get a lot of the data for them as they fill it out, and open banking is necessary in order to do that. The other thing is the holistic client insight. So a lot of people were talking about, okay, when I log into my CRM tool, if I have these open banking plugins, I can now automatically see the client's net worth at all of their banks, how their money is moving, that they are verified, how many bank accounts they have, in what currency denomination, etc. And so this type of stuff is very valuable for when you're planning, right? And you probably type a lot of that stuff into your planning tools right now, and you probably ask the client all that information, and the client may not even know all the answers, right? And so this holistic planning and onboarding is, honestly, I was blown away with how far some of these companies have gone. The other main thing is security and compliance. So a lot of people are really focusing on trying to get around this AI wave. It's obviously benefiting us in a lot of ways, but it's also harming us in a lot of ways with impersonations and stuff like that. And so we just need to keep that in mind when you're shopping for tools. Look for ones that are security forward, compliance focused. That's really, really important. And they were harping on that a lot. It makes sense. They were giving a lot of use cases of why it's harming people. Yeah. So, I mean, I think the main takeaways is keep an eye on tools that are thinking about things like this: better security, open APIs, enhance client onboarding, and at the very least, get in a tool. Because from what I saw down there, there are technological innovations coming that are way ahead of where we see it in Canada right now. And if the States does it, we're no more than 2 to 5 years behind. And so open banking is coming. You have to be ready. It's not going to benefit you at all unless you have a database. So you got to get in one. You got to get organized. And yeah, you can ride this wave and provide way better service to way more clients. And so it was honestly a very positive event. It was really cool to see all the players there. There was a lot of talk about crypto and blockchain, which I'm a huge fan of, mostly from the security angle. I think blockchain is a huge innovation for security. I won't go into all the coins and all that, but the blockchain technology is really good. So I'm keeping my eye on that. I'm probably going to have a couple episodes on that. But yeah, it was a great conference. The future looks bright. FinTech is an area that a lot of money is going into. There are a lot of companies securing transactions and building open APIs and enhancing systems. And so keep your eye on it. And yeah, thanks for listening. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.